And look, I've been looking forward to this since we started talking about what today should look like, a few months ago. And when we sat down as a team, we all agreed sort of unanimously that we had one main priority today. And that was, we wanted to make sure that we didn't get up in front of you all here who took time out of your busy days, which we're all massively appreciative for, and used a lot of buzzwords that you just can't seem to avoid these days, right? Things like agentic, agents, automation. And we didn't want to just do a lot of talking, but not really say much of anything. Because honestly, a lot of what you've seen out there in the market over the last months, and particularly in the last week, that's exactly what it is. It's cool sounding stuff, but it's hard to point to real tangible benefits for you guys as partners and estate agents. And so look, I'm a numbers person, right? I like facts and I like data. I like being able to say, here's what we've changed, here's how we know, and here's what it means for estate agents. So that's what we set out to do today. And if we've done this right, you're all going to walk out of today with a few things that you'll know. Number one, Alto understands what agents really need, not just what the underlying technology can actually do. Number two, that Alto's approach to AI is genuinely different. And three, and this is really important, and it's that what you're seeing today, it's not a concept, it's not a roadmap, it's not coming soon, it's here. And ultimately, it's just the beginning from what we've got to offer. So I told you I like numbers. Let me start with a number. So 20 years ago, right, an estate agent's job was pretty clear. You listed properties, you qualified buyers, you negotiated deals, right? And today, you fast forward, and the job is the same, but everything around it isn't necessarily. All the things that you see up on the screen, GDPR, AML, material information, of course, the Renters' Rights Act, inquiries coming in across dozens of different channels, and clients' expectations have gone through the roof. They're expecting responses within minutes at all hours of the day and night. And look, none of that existed, or existed at least at the same scale when most people in this room started in this industry. And so what's the cumulative effect of that, right? Well, from our analysis, agents lose at least 8 hours a week to basic tasks like chasing updates or managing inquiries or logging notes or handling compliance. That's 10 working weeks a year per person. Let that land. So that's where they're not winning instructions or they're not talking to buyers or vendors. So sound familiar? Yeah. See a lot of nodding heads in the room, expecting the same online. And look, we see it too. You know, our data shows that at least half of a typical negotiator's week in many agencies is non-revenue generating work. And so break that down. In a team of 3, you're potentially looking at £30,000 to £50,000 in annual salary allocated to admin, work that doesn't necessarily need a skilled negotiator to perform. And most agencies, as is natural, they respond to that by hiring more people. But ultimately, what you're doing there is you're treating the symptom, not necessarily the root cause. And so here's the thing. As JD's poll in the room earlier showed, nearly everyone in this room has used AI tools, some sort of AI tool in the last 24 hours, whether it's GPT or Gemini or Copilot or Claude. And you've used it to draft an email, write a listing, summarize something, right? And it's useful, genuinely, it really is. But it is table stakes now. And so, look, you'll have all seen a lot of announcements in the last week or so. One on Monday telling you that AI can send a lot of personalized emails very quickly. And another one last Thursday telling you about a voice assistant that's coming in the summer. Both pitched as game changers. Let's call them what they are. One is a mail merge with an auto reply function, and the other is just a roadmap. Useful, but it's not what's going to change how your agency runs. And here's where I want to be direct. Most agents, and honestly, most prop tech providers are still thinking about AI as a content tool. Generate something faster, summarize something slightly better. That's useful, but it is solving a different problem. Now, we believe that AI is the solution to that problem, but the kind of AI that gives your team their time back isn't the kind of AI that most agents are using today. And here's what I mean. Not all AI is created equal. And from our perspective, from a high level, there's actually 3 different stages to it. And where you sit on that adoption spectrum really, really matters. So from our perspective, the first stage is generative AI. This is listings descriptions, it's email drafts, it's image enhancements. This is where most of the tools that you're using day to day operate. It's definitely useful, but again, it is table stakes. The second is all about insights. This is about when AI stops waiting to be asked and instead starts learning from your data, your pipeline, your history, your outcomes, and then it surfaces patterns that you didn't necessarily prompt it to find. And then the third is where it gets really exciting and fun, agentic AI. So this is where AI doesn't just surface the insight, but it then uses that insight to understand where it needs to start working, and then it acts on it end to end without anyone necessarily having to remember to do it. So things like managing qualification or automating compliance admin. I mean, imagine no longer having to worry about gas certificates or EICRs or EPCs. Those sorts of automations are game-changing for agencies day to day. Now, most of what's being called AI in prop tech right now is in stage 1. Some of it is being marketed as stage 3, that isn't necessarily. But this is the really, really important bit that doesn't get talked about enough. When AI starts taking action in a regulated industry, such as ours, sending emails to your vendors, booking your viewings, handling your compliance, the question stops being, can it do it? And it starts being, can you actually trust it? And there's a real difference between AI that's been pointed at a job and told, off you go, good luck, and one that's been specifically engineered to do a specific job the same way every time within the right security guardrails. And that's really important. The first one is really, really exciting in a demo, right? But the second one is the only one that I would let anywhere near my client data. Because in this industry, when AI gets it wrong, the agency wears it, not the vendor. So, Alto, we're at stage 3, a CRM that doesn't just record the work, and you're going to see a lot of this demonstrated today. It's doing the work for you inside very specific workflows with rules and guardrails and security around what it can and can't do. Every action logged, every action reviewable, importantly. And now I know, Alto is doing the work for you. Might sound like an interesting tagline, but there's a lot more to it than that. And let me explain why. Let's take off a step back. Let's use an example. Chasing a solicitor, chasing a conveyancer. In the old model, someone has to remember. They send an email from their own inbox. Maybe they log it, maybe they don't. Your CRM has no visibility of this task. In the new model, the follow-up is triggered automatically. The response is captured. If it needs a human, it escalates. These are what we call human-in-the-loop moments. Everything in that entire exchange is measurable. And that's what I mean when I say that Alto isn't just recording the work, it's doing it. This is exactly what we've been building here. Not another tool, not table stakes features dressed up as game-changing AI, not a roadmap with a launch date next summer, not something that your team has to learn from scratch. This is Alto Intelligence. It sits inside the CRM that your team already uses across the workflows that they already run every single day. But now those workflows don't just record what happened, they act. The right leads surfaced before your team even goes looking, for example. Follow-ups go out without anyone having to remember to do it. Compliance and certificates automated and on track for every single deal. And things like instant performance insight and advice about what to do next delivered in seconds. The result of all that, the work keeps moving consistently every single day. And that negotiator that we spoke about earlier, now they get to focus on deals, and your team get their day back. Now, how is all this possible? Well, in a word, data. AI ultimately is only as good as the data that it runs on. If you're building automations on shallow data or generic data, no surprises, it produces shallow, generic results, right? It guesses, it approximates, it hallucinates, you've heard this term. It gets things wrong in ways that are hard to spot. And the question isn't then which AI model you use, it's actually what data sits underneath it. And what Alto has, and what very few platforms can genuinely claim, is depth. Look, you all know, Alto is used by more than a third of all UK estate agents, a lot bigger than any competitor. And I don't say that to brag, maybe I did a little bit. But it's there to make the point, right, that we have an enormous amount of data. But it's not just the volume of data, it's what that data has actually been through. And that means that when Alto makes a decision, it's drawing on actual transactions, actual workflows, actual outcomes from agencies like yours. So, for example, think about a lead coming into your system. If I handed you every lead that Alto has ever seen, that alone wouldn't tell you much, right? What matters is the journey. Every click, every step, every decision point along the way, which leads made it through to completion, where others dropped off, what separated the ones that closed from the ones that stalled. That pattern, built across millions of journeys, thousands of agencies over years, is what Alto Intelligence is built on. And that is what no one can replicate. Because AI, like I said, is only as good as the data that it runs on, and that data takes years to accumulate. So, you can build a clever interface in a quarter, you can write a press release in a week, but you cannot manufacture 20 years of estate agency workflow data. And which means the platforms that have been inside agency operations the longest, the ones with the deepest understanding of how this industry actually works, they are suddenly the most valuable they've ever been. And that's what Alto has, and that's what we're putting to work. And it's built on Alto's data, on years of real transactions, real outcomes, real agency context. This isn't AI taking a best guess. It knows what good looks like because Alto's seen it millions and millions of times. The result? More conversations, more viewings, more instructions, and less desk work. And guess what? None of that more requires more headcount because we are freeing up your team's time to get back to the jobs that they want to do. The examples about leads also is just one use case, but the opportunity goes much, much further than that. So let's go on a journey. Think about where agents are most stretched. Think about where your business is most stretched and where are you losing the most time? And where is that time costing the most, ultimately? Well, we think it's places like prospecting, it's lead generation, it's listings, it's performance data, it's compliance. Well, that's where we started with Alto Intelligence. We didn't try and do 50 things all at once. We picked very specific 5 jobs where AI can actually move the needle. And we've engineered each one properly and securely and put guardrails around what it can and can't do. Because ultimately, shipping 100 half-built capabilities and calling it a marketplace, it just isn't innovation. It's just offloading the risk to you. Now, imagine Alto Intelligence goes even wider than that, embedded across every role in your agency, your sales progressors, property managers, branch managers, and deeper, handling more and more of the specific jobs within each of those roles. That's Alto Intelligence helping you run your agency, run your business in a completely different way. And here's what's important. This is a really important point. We are not building this alone. Some platforms have decided AI in a estate agency should sit behind closed doors, right? Well, we took the opposite call. We're building AI that's open to our partner ecosystem, because we believe fundamentally that the best AI tools, the best innovations, they're going to come from across the ecosystem. And we want agents, our customers, Alto users, to benefit from all of it. And that's not just a product decision, it's a values decision. It's a values decision about what kind of platform and what kind of business we want to be. So look, the people in this industry work incredibly hard. I've seen it. I've been out to branches. I've spoken to the directors. I've spoken to the negotiators. But the next few years are going to reward something different. Not the agencies that necessarily work the hardest, but the ones that operate the smartest. So the question isn't whether AI will change a state agency. It already has. We saw the show of hands. The question is whether your CRM is part of the answer or part of the problem. And so I'll leave you with this. Alto Intelligence is built to do one thing: make your agency operate at a level that wasn't possible before. Win more instructions, progress more deals, build better client relationships. Not in summer, not in a roadmap, today. The last CRM you'll ever need. Not because it's finished, but because it never stops evolving. And that's what we're defining here together today, alongside the agencies and the partners in this room, the ones who know better than anyone what good actually looks like. So I'll end there, but a massive thank you to everyone who's helped us get here. Enjoy the rest of the afternoon. There's a lot more to get into today. We hope you're excited, and I'm told that there are drinks at the end as well, so nobody leave early. So back to JD. Thank you very much.